So I started playing when I was 5. I think around like 14, I kind of started realizing, I was pretty good at this, and I liked doing it. I liked, getting better and working with my father in the backyard and, doing all that good stuff. And I grew up in a very, not a very tough, I know quite a few people that have had worse than me, but a tough upbringing. I was the middle one. I had an older sister. She's 5 years older than me, and then a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me. And at the time it was just us three, and I was about I guess 4 or 5 at the time, and my mother left us, signed over her rights to my stepmother. Through that whole transition and obviously growing up, my dad had a lot on his shoulders. I remember living in a small little apartment with the 5 of us, and my brother just being an infant. And my dad was a manager at Home Depot, and he was working day and nights just to provide for everything. So I was never seeing him ever. And my dad actually made the decision when I started playing baseball. He started realizing how he was missing everything, that he was like, you know what, I don't even care, I'll figure it out, but I'm quitting. I'm done working nights. Me understanding that from a father, now myself, it really puts into perspective, how much that really means to be there for your kids through all of that as they grow up. Just having to make those tough decisions, but not just thinking about him, but thinking about us through all of that. I was sought out by a travel ball team out of Virginia. They're actually like one of the best travel ball teams in the country. They're called the Canes. The owner, his name was Jeff Petty, and he reached out and told me, that they were interested and they wanted me to play for, their age group. And I think at that time it was like 14 or 15. Right around, late middle school and kind of getting to that point of transitioning into high school. And so they actually were, a very big travel team, so they traveled, the country. And for those years, I would spend my entire summer with him, the owner, Jeff Petty, and I would just travel around the country with him, playing in all these different tournaments. And my dad and mom would come out, for select few, the ones that they could get off of work and stuff. But for the most part, I was staying in hotels. It was very similar to this, very similar to pro life, college life. And I absolutely loved it. I didn't care about the sacrifices that I was making, just absolutely loved it, enthralled by it. And it was right when I got to, about freshman year, I got my first letter from a college of Stanford. That kind of started the whole ball with colleges, and from that point on, I started getting, mail from multiple schools every single day. I had so many letters that my mom had to, she went out and bought this huge basket, and I would just throw them all in and I'd keep them in my room. Kind of came to a conclusion that I didn't really want to go to pro ball. I didn't feel like I was ready. Got on the phone with my agent, and we sent out a letter to all 30 clubs telling them that Fraley wants nothing to do with the draft, don't even bother drafting him. If you draft him, he's not going to take anything. So obviously I ended up not getting drafted and ended up going to school. Went to LSU, and it was the absolute best decision of my life as far as baseball career. If I had to go back and do it again, I would do the same exact thing. Ended up getting drafted by the Rays in the second round in 2016. I was there for 16, 17, and 18, and then traded over to Seattle here 2 off seasons ago. So last year was my first year with the Mariners, and was able to make it to the big leagues last year in 2019, and here we are. Growing up, I was growing up in a Catholicism, going to Catholic church, and I would go home at this time being in, like middle school, 13, 14 years old, and reading the Bible and being like, well, the Bible doesn't tell me that I pray to Mary, or that I need to ask this priest for confession of my sins. I'm like, I see that the gospel tells me I need to express those and give those to God. And I have the opportunity to do that directly because of what Jesus did on the cross for me. I don't need to go through this other guy. Like, I have a direct connection with my Father in heaven. Growing up and getting into that, going into college, my chaplain really helped me to understand a lot of those things when I got to college, and really allowed me to kind of like really take a step back and really understand what it means with that intimacy and that daily walk with the Lord, and that it's not just something for me and myself in my room, but it's something that I need to express and live out in my actions everywhere I go, every single day. And it really changed my understanding and my walk. And I know, now, the Lord placed him in my life, and I went to LSU, for very specific reasons, and it wasn't for baseball. A lot of people come to me and say, hey, are you a Christian, or are you a Catholic? And I'm like, no, man, I'm just a believer. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe in what the gospel talks about what Jesus did on the cross for us. For me, I feel like as a believer, it's really you personally getting into the gospel and figuring out who God is. It's not about what other people are saying, what other people are preaching. Don't get me wrong, all that's good stuff, but when it bears down to it, it's about you and the Father. It is about your intimate love relationship with Him day by day. There's no words that describe just the pureness of it, how much you have such an understanding of life once you get to know the Maker of life. I'm Jake Fraley, and I play for Him.